How to write a research methodology in 4 steps. In your thesis or dissertation, you will have to discuss the methods you use to do your research. The methodology chapters explains what you did and how you did it, allowing readers to evaluate the reliability and validity of the research. It should include the type of research you did, how you collected your data, how you analyze your data, any tools or materials you use in the research, your rationale for choosing these methods. The methodology section should generally be written in the past tense. Step 1. Explain your methodological approach. Begin by introducing your overall approach to the research. What research problem or questions did you investigate? For example, did you aim to systematically describe the characteristics of something, to explore an under-researched topic, or to establish a cause and effect relationship? And what type of data did you need to achieve this aim? Did you need quantitative data that is expressed in numbers or qualitative data that is expressed in words? Did you need to collect primary data yourself, or did you use secondary data that was collected by someone else? Did you gather experimental data by controlling and manipulating variables, or descriptive data by gathering observations without intervening? Depending on your discipline and approach, you might also begin with a discussion of the rationale and assumptions underpinning your methodology. Why is this the most suitable approach to answering your research questions? Is this a standard methodology in your field, or does it require justification? Were there any ethical considerations involved by your choices? And what are the criteria for validity and reliability in this type of research? Step 2. Describe your methods of data collection. Once you have introduced your overall methodological approach, you should give full details. In a quantitative experimental study, you might aim to produce generalizable knowledge about the causes of a phenomenon. Valid research requires a carefully designed study under controlled conditions that can be replicated by other researchers. In quantitative research, for valid generalizable results, you should describe your methods in enough detail for another researcher to replicate your study. Explain how you operationalize concept and measured your variables, your sampling method or inclusion-exclusion criteria, and any tools, procedures, and materials you use to gather data. Sampling method or sampling technique. This is important when the total population is big and the researcher decides to use only a representative group for practical reasons. The following are the common sampling techniques: the random sampling, purposive sampling, and stratified sampling, cluster sampling, and convenience sampling. In simple random sampling, you randomly select a subset of participants from a population. Each member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. Purposive sampling, also known as judgment, selective, or subjective sampling, is a sampling technique in which you rely on his or her judgment when choosing members of a population to participate in the study. This is depending mostly on the purpose of the researcher. Stratified sampling is you will divide the entire population into different subgroups or strata, then randomly selects the final subjects proportionally from the different strata. While in cluster sampling, you will divide a population into clusters, such as districts or schools, and then randomly select some of these clusters as your sample. And lastly, convenience sampling. This involves using respondents who are convenient to the researcher. Surveys describes where, when, and how the survey was conducted. How did you design the questionnaire and what form did the question take? For example, multiple choice or Likert scale. What sampling method did you use to select participants? Did you conduct surveys by phone, mail, online, or in person? And how long did participants have to respond? What was the sample size and response rate? You might want to include the full questionnaires as an appendix so that your reader can see exactly what data was collected. Experiments. Give full details of the tools, techniques, and procedures you used to conduct the experiment. How did you design the experiment? How did you recruit participants? How did you manipulate and measure the variables? What tools or technologies did you use in the experiment? In experimental research, it is especially important to give enough detail for another researcher to reproduce your results. Existing data. Explain how you gathered and selected materials such as publications for inclusion in your analysis. Where did you source the material? How was the data originally produced? What criteria did you use to select the material? Qualitative methods. Since methods are often more flexible and subjective, it is important to reflect on the approach you took and explain the choices you made. Discuss the criteria you used to select participants or sources, the context in which the research was conducted, and the role you played in collecting the data. For example, were you an active participant or a passive observer? Interviews or focus groups. This describes where, when, and how the interviews were conducted. How did you find the select participants? How many people took part? What form did the interviews take? Is it structured, semi structured, or unstructured? How long were the interviews and how were they recorded? Participant observation. This describes where, when, and how you conducted the observations or ethnography. What group or community did you observe and how did you gain access to them? How long did you spend conducting the research and where was it located? What role did you play in the community? How did you record your data? For example, audiovisual, recordings, note taking. Existing data. Explain how you selected case study materials such as text or images for the focus of your analysis. What type of materials did you analyze? How did you collect and select them? Step 3. Describe your methods of analysis. You should indicate how you process and analyze the data. Avoid going into too much detail. You should not start presenting or discussing any of your results at this stage. In a quantitative methods, your analysis will be based on numbers. In the method section, you might include how you prepare the data before analyzing it. For example, checking for missing data, removing outliers, and transforming variables. Which software you use to analyze the data? Which statistical test you use? Is it two-tailed t-test or simple linear regression? In a qualitative methods, your analysis will be based on language, images, and observations. It often involves some form of textual analysis. Specific methods might include content analysis, categorizing and discussing the meaning of words, phrases, and sentences, thematic analysis, coding and closely examining the data to identify broad themes and patterns. Discourse analysis, studying communication and meaning in relation to their social context. Your methodology should make the case for why you chose these particular methods, especially if you did not take the most standard approach to your topic. Discuss why methods were not suitable for your objectives and show how this approach contributes new knowledge or understanding. You can acknowledge limitations or weakness in the approach you chose, but justify why these were outweighed by the strength. So the step 4 is evaluate and justify your methodological approach. Thank you very much for watching. You can check this lecture out in the link provided. Let us all enjoy learning.